you've been tracking how much taxpayer money is really at stake here.
And Paige and Mark, apparently this all began last year, according to these documents I obtained today, and that concern continues right now.
Randy, they say it's part of a pattern from Syrian President Bashar Assad since the Syrian civil war began, but they understand the issue of regime change is complicated.
Well, that can only happen if the federal government approves a state plan to help insurers control costs. Otherwise, premiums could go up by as much as 30%. I obtained emails that highlight the frantic efforts city officials made to make that happen.
Is it acceptable for any city employee, regardless of race, to use that word in terms?
Clearly, we shouldn't be using those type of language, I think.
Lawmakers do have until Monday night to avoid a special session. They would then have until June 30th to avoid a government shutdown. And we're live at the Capitol tonight. Samuel King, Fox 9.
The city of Jacksonville could be on the hook for millions of dollars in extra health care costs.
City leaders are concerned that too many part-time employees are racking up extra hours. CBS 47 Action News reporter Samuel King is live at City Hall. And Samuel, you've been tracking how much taxpayer money is really at stake here.
And Paige and Mark, apparently this all began last year, according to these documents I obtained today, and that concern continues right now. Worries the city could be liable for $16 million in penalties if this issue isn't addressed. Emails between employee services managers detail that 3 months into the fiscal year, a number of part-time city employees are exceeding their hours. A wide range of employees from City Hall to the county courthouse are covered by an ordinance that limits part-time employees to 25 hours per week. But some are working more than 40 hours. That means the city may be required to provide health care benefits to those employees next year, something city officials want to avoid. Of course, private businesses are doing the same thing, but some taxpayers we spoke with in San Marco questioned the trend.
And without benefits, they can't survive. They've got to move on. They've got to work 2 jobs. We're affecting the families.
If you're putting in that much effort, 40 hours a week, and you don't get any of the benefits, then, it's not right.
Some taxpayers I spoke with didn't want to talk on camera, but say the city shouldn't have to pay an extra dime if it doesn't have to. Now, I've been exchanging phone calls and emails with members of the Brown administration trying to figure out exactly how many employees we're talking about here when it comes to this issue and what the city plans to do moving forward. Within the past 15 minutes, they got back to me, said they're still working on those specifics, and when they give them to me, I'll have those answers for you. Reporting live at City Hall tonight, Samuel King, CBS 47 Action News.
And we heard back from JSO within the last 45 minutes. It says it constantly looks at the impact of new laws and mandates and how that affects its budget.
Let's get back.
Customers who purchase their own insurance could see a decrease in premiums of 14% or an increase as much as 11%, depending on the insurer and the plan. Well, that could only happen if the federal government approves a state plan to help insurers control costs. Otherwise, premiums could go up by as much as 30%. State lawmakers passed a Minnesota premium security plan after fierce debate during the session. It provides more than $500 million over the next 2 years to partially reimburse insurers for high-cost claims. Republican leaders in the legislature say that the fact that some insurers are even projecting lower premiums with the plan shows it was a good idea.
It had to be done. People were hurting. The increases were 60, 70+%, so we had to take action.
Insurers say the money helps stabilize the market, reducing uncertainty for them.
Sometimes you have really big medical bills. This helps even that out and makes it more predictable.
Minnesota Council of Health Plans President and CEO Jim Showalter says setting rates for premiums is a balancing act. That's one reason why insurers also had to submit another set of rates in case the federal government doesn't sign off on the Minnesota plan.
The core question of how many medical bills are people going to have, this 160,000, 170,000 people or more, and what are premiums going to have to be set at?
The debate in Washington over health care is also on the minds of insurers in Minnesota, including whether President Donald Trump plans to get rid of cost-sharing subsidies that help with paying deductibles.
Insurers are going to build their rates assuming that help is there because that's what's in the law. If the federal government changes course, that's a big deal in Minnesota and in other states.
Governor Mark Dayton called the projections from the insurers tremendous news. Now, these aren't set in stone. State regulators have to approve these final rates. That could happen sometime this fall. Meanwhile, the public does have a chance to weigh in until the end of August, and we have information on that on fox9.com. Reporting in St. Paul, Samuel King, Fox 9.
details surrounding this case.
The city leaders are standing by their decision to purchase 2 boats to continue the water taxi service through the summer. Well, that move cost taxpayers $300,000. Action News' Samuel King is live downtown with more on this investigation. Samuel, you've been tracking this issue for days now.
Mark, we finally got some firm answers today on this process and where the city is getting the money for the boats from. Meanwhile, city officials tell me they want to start service back here on the river by Friday. City officials hope to have replacement water taxi service in time for last weekend. The old company left town on Friday. They found money for the new boats in an internal bank fund that will be paid back by the Parks and Recreation Department.
We happen to have had the cash at this time to be able to fund this purchase. Given the nature of the emergency that we had, we were able to do precisely what we should do, that we're prepared to meet the city's needs. And
council members have questioned why this was declared an emergency and the amount spent. Chief Administrative Officer Karen Bowling tells me that it was indeed an emergency to keep the service going based on the number of hotels, restaurants, and customers that relied on it.
When you make that kind of commitment, you want to honor your word. And so I think that in terms of trying to just rebuild that, it would have cost us a whole lot more than that.
I obtained emails that highlight the frantic efforts city officials made to make that happen. By Thursday, officials settled on Trident pontoons out of Tavares in Lake County. A sales rep said, "I can pull out all the stops and try to make your Saturday delivery, but if it's going to happen, I need to know today." Meanwhile, Bowling tried to get JTA to help move the purchase along. She wrote, "The manufacturer is willing to sell them if it makes sense once we develop our longer-term solution." He believes based on the market, we could see at or near the same price.
Are you confident that you got the best deal?
Well, you know, you're never 100% confident that you got the best deal. I can tell you that we did a lot of due diligence. It's not like there are a lot of these boats available, and but we feel very good about the price.
In the past half hour, we got off the phone with the Coast Guard, who tells us they are aware of the city's timetable, that these boats are expected to be here this week, but they can't guarantee the inspections will be done in time for the city to begin service in time for the weekend. Live downtown, Samuel King, CBS 47 Action News.
MSP is a busy place, but usually the lines for security are inside, not outside.
At a Trump rally! Big old line.
But it's not every day a presidential candidate stops in town within 48 hours of the election. A surprise visit on an NFL Sunday.
The only thing we can agree on is Donald Trump. Hey.
Vikings fan Bill Youngbauer and Packers fan Steve Bohl setting aside football rivalry to play for the same team.
I think that Hillary's in for a surprise. I really do.
He's from Luck, Wisconsin,
exactly.
So he's giving Trump all the luck that there is in Luck, Wisconsin.
Exactly.
The crowd also included those who were skeptical of Trump at first.
I was actually a Never Trump fan, and I'm more of a Hillary for Prison fan than I am a Never Trump fan, and I'm sick and tired of the mess on both sides. Republicans and Democrats, we've got to shake it up.
And shaking it up in Minnesota means voters going for a Republican candidate in a presidential race for the first time since 1972. MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell thinks it can happen.
And he is really all about bringing our jobs back. You're getting rid of Obamacare. He's all about these things, and it's everything we need here in Minnesota. We need change.
Trump supporters weren't alone at the airport.
Family is all immigrants. We love this country. Then please don't vote for someone who promises to keep us out.
A couple of protesters showed up and weren't afraid to defend Hillary Clinton.
And you do not see that as a conflict of interest?
Bill Clinton's foundation.
It doesn't matter. They're one and the same.
But this day belonged to Trump and his supporters, and maybe the vendors that sold out of Trump hats.
Cash your card, guys.
Selling out.
Trump it up. You only got 2 days left of the election.
Not much time left at all, and it remains to be seen whether the excitement out here today will translate to votes for Trump on Tuesday. The folks in the crowd today certainly hope to make that happen. We're live at MSP Airport tonight. Samuel King, Fox 9.